and even in Japanese culture today is this mastering your like just mastery. Like I'm gonna master the way that I do, my writing, my lettering, my mathematics, my athletics, whatever it is. It's this devotion. And devotion's a part of honor, and like you're honoring your craft. And I actually was thinking about this last night about how, in coaching and training, it's really become apparent to me in a, in a way that I think coaches are breaking apart their soul, like piece by piece, in a way that when they dishonor someone else's craft. So whether you like Olympic lifting or not, for instance, like there are people who are masters of their craft and have devoted themselves with honor to honoring this piece. And if you are going to say it is good, it is bad, it is whatever, it is dishonoring something that someone else has honored. And I think that is I think it cuts you off. I think it shortens your mind frame. I think it narrows you. I think it takes away your creativity. And regardless of what the subject is, it could be stretching. It could be a modality. It could be a movement. It could be a style of eating. It could be anything. But by saying something is by being dismissive of something that someone else honors and has devoted their life to, if they think it worthy to devote their entire life to, maybe you shouldn't dishonor it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to use it completely, but it deserves your respect and it deserves your consideration of how much, like, of what piece there might be a universal benefit in.
Yeah. Because even there's a process of mastery to be able to achieve something like that. Olympic lifting is a big process. And I mean, the levels of expression of your mastery, I mean, it depends on a lot of things. The hours you put into it, the dedication, the focus, the intention, and every little thing you do, from moving to eating to living to your thoughts, everything, it matters. But I think beyond that, if you look at the mastery process, and I'm reading a book called Mastery, go figure, by Robert Greene, I highly recommend it. And the book kind of goes through these different masters, and they talk about Bruce Lee, they talk about Rosa Parks, they talk about all these big leaders out there. And it's not just movement per se; it's performance in a lot of different rights, like how you speak, how you compose yourself, how you express your character. Like these things are all within the realm of performance. So anyway, and what the book does, it goes through their life, and it kind of, you see a very similar pattern. And Robert Greene does a really good job of illuminating this pattern. And the pattern is like, okay, you find a vocation, or vocation calls to you, rather. It calls to you, you feel the call, you heed the call, or you get terrified, never do anything about it, but you heed the call, so you do heed it. You go in the direction of this call, and then you're kind of shooting arrows in the dark at first, not sure like where you need to be. And you're experiencing these different experiences, and then something starts to click. Wow, this is like something I'm really passionate about. And then you start going further into the direction. You start peeling layers and layers and layers to where you get to more and more truth, and the more and more truth of who you are. And you begin to express that more and more. And then from there, you start to do things. You may seek out a mentor. You may seek out something deeper. You may choose to mentor someone else. And through that experience, you're learning more and more. And the next thing you know, now you're teaching in front of millions and billions of people. And you're coming from a place of, number one, honoring yourself and going through that process. And so if you look at an Olympic lifter and say, I'm a power lifter and I appreciate powerlifting. Right. And I look at Olympic lifters, oh man, that's dangerous. Oh man, their knees, what's going to happen to their knees? Instead of looking at it from the pure perspective, oh, it could be dangerous. Powerlifting can be dangerous too. I mean, totally. But anyway, being able to see that they went through a process, and the process is probably very similar. Yeah, adaptation. And when you can pinpoint that, what it is, then that level of appreciation and respect is amazing, and you don't feel so disconnected anymore. Right. And I think that's what you were saying. You're saying, oh, you cut yourself off. You literally do. You cut yourself off from people, and that's a shitty feeling. Right.
Yeah, and I think, and I think that any pursuit that's done at the absolute highest levels where you are pushing for world records, or like even a violinist trying to perform a piece that is extreme, right? The extremes of any pursuit are not the extreme. They're not the pursuits of health. So, and I think that needs to be recognized, that like a deadlift is a manner in which is a better way to pick something up, but picking up 1,000 pounds is an extreme expression of it, and you're pushing the limits of the human body, and that's not necessarily for health. I mean, it's not for health at all. But that doesn't mean that the scaled back versions of everything, it doesn't mean that a violin played musically for your enrichment, or even at a symphony level is inherently unhealthy. It is not. It is actually enriching, and you are honoring yourself by honoring those others who honor their craft, and also by looking at what can make you well through their craft. And like Olympic lifting, I mean, these guys are putting, I mean, at the Olympic level and at the World Championship level, they're putting weight over their head that no other humans have attempted. Now, that is performance. It is obviously uncharted territory, and same thing with sprinting. It is not for health, but that doesn't mean that anything inherently wrong with their craft. And I think I'm starting to just, and that's with everything really, we always talk about everything's really the same. And if everything is honor, you have to start to look at maybe how am I honoring myself and how I look at other things. Yeah. And how am I bringing dishonor to myself? And honestly, like in a biblical way, I kind of think of that as what sin is. Like sin is really this like dishonoring oneself, which dishonors God in a way that is harmful to your soul, your karma, your energy. And I think that is a sinful, not pursuit, but it just is this disruption. And I think that disrupts progress and wellness for sure.
Totally.
But before we kind of go too far into time, I want to hit the boob wink, so that you don't get cheated on boob wink.
Yes.
So
I've been waiting for this the whole podcast.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be as exciting as you think it is.
All right.
But boob wink. So you were familiar with the butt wink?
Totally.
Okay. So the butt wink in when you go to a deep squat, or even like honestly, if you set up for a deadlift or anything that you're looking at, hip and knee flexion, bending of the hips and knees, sitting on a chair, any of that. When you are descending, that the reason it's called the butt wink is because your butt crack or your butthole tucks under you and goes from facing kind of diagonally down and back to kind of like completely under you. Yeah. And that happens not because of movement at the pelvis or at the crease, but actually at the break of the lumbar spine. So the lower back actually flexes because it's often forgotten that the spine itself is joints. Yeah. You're going to have 7 cervical joints. You're going to have 12 thoracic. You're going to have, 5 lumbar, and then you're going to have like 5 sacral, although those are fused. Yeah. So, but there is play in them. Mm-hmm. And so these are joints. And so if you are not holding stable, they are mobile and they move. Mm-hmm. So the lumbar spine breaks, flexes under, and ends up as a byproduct pointing the butt under. Mm-hmm. That's the butt wink. Mm-hmm. Today, this morning, I discovered a new wink. It is called boob wink. Boob wink is when the bra line of a woman with large cans goes to squat and it breaks because of the fulcrum of the pivot point that's placed at the bra line on the back. So below the rib cage, at the very base of the rib cage, they cannot get into thoracic extension, so they cannot open up their ribs, open up their back, and instead what happens is their upper back gives this wink, and their boobs the nipple winks down and it causes a squat break in the spine regardless. Now, to show Sumer, I have Coach's eye on my phone, which is a slow motion video capture. And I'm going to show him what boob wink looks like. So, as my client this morning, who is actually a very strong girl, and I take on very few adult clients, like I train mostly, either young athletes, high-level young athletes, or just aspiring young athletes. But I have a few like select adult clients whose desire is, the optimal health and the optimal performance. So you'll see as she declines, as she descends. Look, you see the crease in her shirt? Okay. Now watch the crease in her shirt. It's trying to extend. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. It's trying to extend, and then at the bottom, it breaks.
I see it.
And then it's locked. It's broken. Now, even if you see it on now look, her butt is not winking. So what I thought was a butt wink, I had been looking at it thinking, oh, she's butt winking. So, because you see the break right there, right? Look at her lumbar right there, where at the crease.
I see it.
It looks like the lumbar's broken until you look at the straight line. It's not broken. It's broken at the bra line. Okay? So, I would like to submit that the butt wink for possibly women with larger tops is actually a boob wink. And see, look at it on this one. So this is with her heels raised, which now you can really see the stable, like the good pelvic position, strong glutes, and look at the bottom. See, it's right there.
Yeah, I see it.
If I reverse it,
it's subtle in a way, but
it's subtle because she's strong and I've built up her strength. But
so if
she's, and you know where I discovered it today? I discovered it in working overhead squat.
Okay. Well, I can see that. You definitely need a lot of thoracic extension for that.
Right, and so right there, look at that. Actually, if I go back and forth, do you see that crease right there?
I see it.
Boom.
Right there.
There. Now it's obvious. See that? That's obvious.
So aside from, working on a lot of midline control, midline strength, do you think keeping the bar lower on her would help? Like a lower bar squat? What do you think? Curious.
No, because you're feeding into the same displacement. So like the boob weight's pulling down and forward. So now you're just moving. Yeah.
No offense, ladies.
No offense, ladies. I'm actually trying to help you. I actually think that it's a lack of, and if you see where her bar placement, not her bar placement, but if you look at the shoulder, she can't get into scapular retraction, and she can't actually rotate the scapula down. So like your shoulder blades are like dinner plates on your back, and what you want to do is pull them down towards your hips and then pull them actually like angled in together. So if on a clock it'd be at like 5 and 7.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like cupping them in. So for fellas, if you were going to cup a woman's breasts and then like turn it inside, that's exactly the way the shoulder blades work. Ladies, you may do that to your man as well.
Okay.
But she cannot cup the shoulder blade down, which means that the shoulder joint does not open up, and she cannot hold thoracic extension to keep the collarbone level with the ground.
Yeah.
Such that you can then hold the bar overhead. So what was happening was I was having her work on a SATS press, which is where you hold a squat at the bottom and you press a bar overhead.
And you really go into extension. Okay.
Right, and so you go into extension. And what was happening was she was locked forward and couldn't press up. Instead, it would either go forward or she'd have to peel the scapula off and press up and back. And the reason that is because we had to alleviate all of the restriction in the bicep tendon, the trap, the levator scap, which is above the shoulder blade, and all of these higher muscles because she has larger breasts that pull her forward. So we did a ton of work in there, ton of tissue work, just smashed the crap out of it, put it to sleep. Then we did some stuff for thoracic extension, turned on the rhomboids and the lower, and I braced her into thoracic extension. Gave her an assistance so that she wouldn't have to worry about balance. And